street smart equaled
book
smart.
smart. Yeah, wish street smarts were as valued as book smarts.
So
and
true.
there's one line as well in it where she says, no, a man says to her, well, you know, we're looking for the best man for the job. And she goes, I'm that person, you know?
Yeah.
So she's, again, feminist
She really
manifesto.
has that unapologetic Leo confident that she brings into her movies. It's really beautiful to see. It's really inspiring, to be honest. Every time I see her, I'm like, she doesn't believe that she's a maid. She doesn't believe that she's an uneducated person. She really believes in herself in an incredible way.
Speaking of Leos who believe in themselves in spite of class, gender, and reality, there was a Leo that came last night to our Maid in Manhattan screening, a beloved Leo who shall remain nameless, who really helped ease the kind of social differences that were there. So there was a really mishmash of people, some we knew, some we didn't, that came to our little film festival, which was super nice. But you tried to have an icebreaker, which I find absolutely abhorrent. I think icebreakers should not exist. They always make someone feel stressed and unwelcome. I hate games. I hate these things. But anyway, you're into it, so you did it anyway. And I realized that Leos are just like, you don't need icebreaker games, you just need a Leo.
I know. Leos are really...
They're social lubricants.
They're comforting. She was we did one truth and a lie, and she was telling two stories, the truth and the lie, that they were both as ridiculous and as embarrassing, but being a Leo, they just make it look so cool. She was like saying one of her story was that she shat in someone's pool.
Yeah, so in her auntie's fancy pool in Turak, which is a really wealthy suburb, she goes, yeah, I took a shit in a massive one.
And
like,
it was
it's nice way to introduce yourself.
Being a Leo, like half of the people in the room didn't even know her, but you could see how happy they were.
Her smile like her face became one big smile, and it's almost like she levitated off the couch as she was telling this story.
And that's the classic Leo. It's like, look at me, everyone. I'm taking a huge shit in your pool, and I'm doing it in such a classic...
And the second story, what was the second one?
That someone in the tram stop looked at her and winked at her and said...
An old woman came up to her and said, hey, remember when we robbed that bank together?
Remember when we robbed that bank together?
And both of those stories, like, I actually knew which story was true because it's one of my best friends that is this Leo. But I just still was like, I don't know which one's true because they both sound like your life.
So real.
Yeah. Everyone thought the shitting in the pool one was the real one.
Yeah, I voted for that. But I also think that it probably also happened.
I think it did.
Who knows?
And she forgot.
This Mercury retrograde is maybe a short one, but I think it's a potent one.
It's so intense, you guys. Be nice to yourself. Like, I was really stressed because I had to perform at a beautiful wedding the other week. And so I know that in this Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde has just finished, full moon, Sagittarian energy started, Scorpio seasons. Anyway, I could go on. Anyway, I know that my self-care strategy is getting a spray tan. And so I went to Susie Spray Tans, and she just looked at me at the end. She goes, love, try and enjoy it. Just try and enjoy life. And I was like, you know what? This $50 is... I'm getting a lot from this, more than you know. I couldn't leave the house for 2 days because I looked like I'd painted orange paint on myself.
This Susie Spray
Tan.
Tan.
Stains everywhere on my bed, but...
I'm just going to say it once. It sounds like she's a great value and she gives you life advice and everything, but she also sounds like one of these people like in Freaky Friday. Like she would just like, she want to teach you a lesson, so she'll like swap your mind with like her spray tan machine or something.
It's like walking into a zombie house. Like every time I go there, I'm like, I don't think the house is going to be there anymore. I think I imagined all of it.
Oh my God.
Because she wears a face mask the whole time, and then there's different like Jewish women coming in and out in various shades of orange, and you feel like you're in the Twilight Zone. Like age doesn't exist, race doesn't exist.
I don't know.
It's very strange, and there's a cat that's usually walking around that comes and starts purring. So
you love cats, and they love
and
you.
dogs. I like dogs too. I'm not just a cat person.
I'm sorry. So you say you're coping with Mercury retrograde is getting a spray tan.
I think coping is an overestimation.
It's like a little
Let's not
trick.
say coping. Let's not say coping.
So mine is... My unhealthy ones, as spoken about in this podcast, is shopping and online shopping, and I am waiting for a few objects that we will not name in this podcast. But one of the other things is going to yoga, and in a true Mercury retrograde Mercury retrograde fashion, I went to a yoga class and it was canceled. And it was such a weird experience to stand with like 20, 40, 30-year-old people, and no one could understand how it's possible that
everyone's like anxious, kind of like they're like, I've controlled this 1 hour of my life is going to be my safe place, and I've got the babysitter, and I've got this, and dinner's ready, and
It was so crazy. And then I was driving somewhere, and this woman behind me was trying to like smash into me because I was fixing my beanie on my head, and I waited like 2 seconds longer. And I was like, okay, so my yoga class is canceled. This woman's trying to kill me on the road, Mercury retrograde. I look at my phone and I get a text from my ex. And I'm like, Mercury. Thank you, next. I'm so fucking grateful for my ex. And Mercury retrograde is here, and it's loud and clear.
But he's not just been texting you. He's popping up.
Yeah, so maybe I would come clean about my dreaming abilities to all our listeners that may be thinking that I don't know anything about them, but actually...
Well, you've now come out in one of our earlier episodes as a man.
I am a man.
And now you're coming out again as a kind of very psychic, intuitive dreamer.
I would just say that, as mentioned before, I was a very weird kid, was very into the witchcraft realm and and emotional...
and Boreka's pizza.
I love Borekas, I loved pastries and all sorts of foods. But... So as a kid, I was going to the library at school, where the only source of internet, because it was like 2001, and I would Google witchcraft and how to be a witch and how to cast spells, and I would read, and every website said that if you want to develop your psychic abilities and your witchcraft abilities, you have to start and practice meditation and lucid dreaming. So... By the way, I was Googling only that, and then the librarian, because I lived in a small community, blah, 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 she called my mom and my best friend's mom, and she told her that we are watching porn on the library computer, and I was like, I couldn't tell them that I was actually Googling witchcraft, because I thought that it might be better if they think I watched porn.
Yeah.
But I was like, we actually didn't. We were actually Googling witchcraft. And then I started lucid dreaming, and I started practicing it. So in the past few weeks, I've been having a relationship with my ex-boyfriend every night. So literally, I would get up in the morning, and I would go to work, and then I would come home, and I would go to sleep, and I would have a full like dates with him, call him on Skype. We'll go out together. We would do all these things together, just like chat. We went to Kmart one time. Having this full relationship, and then he texted me, and I kind of knew it was coming. And also, I was dreaming about Frank Ocean, that I had this like big pigtail afro, and we were like going around getting ice cream. And then 2 days later, he opened his Instagram.
That's crazy. My only similar experience was recently face stalking an ex, a Gemini ex, not really an ex, someone I met once or twice, who was never on Facebook, and for some reason I just looked his name up, and he's popped up on Facebook as well. But why do you think you're having all these dreams and experiences with your ex and with Frank Ocean? What's it about?
We all know Venus has been retrograding and Mercury is now retrograding, and I think dreams are, people say the eyes are the windows to the soul, but definitely dreams are the doors, the automatic doors to the soul, because you go to sleep and your spirituality, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, is open. There's no guarding, and you can see things, and you can have an insight that sometimes you protect yourself from getting, especially on a full moon. So I pay a lot of attention to my dreams. Thankfully, I also dream a lot. One of my favorite reoccurring dreams is when I babysit Britney's kids. It's always really nice. So I always. Oh
my gosh, she'd have the best food in the cupboard as well, like really nice snacks.
Literally, her cupboards are filled with Pop-Tarts and Cheetos and all the flavors of the Cheetos. And
her kids might be a little bratty though.
And in my dreams, I'm not even vegan, we just make s'mores in the oven, and then Brittany comes back and she doesn't know my name, but I feel like we're friends, and it's really a good experience. So I'm going to give you guys a few tips if you want to start lucid dreaming.
I'm taking notes.
Obviously, all this information is available on the internet, but I can talk from my experience that, people have a lot of misconceptions about meditation. Like it should be when you're sitting, it should be when you're standing, you should not think about everything, you should lie down, it shouldn't be at night. There's all these misconceptions. I find that you can always do it, and there's not many rules as long as you're just paying attention to what's happening. So I would do it before going to sleep. I would just pay attention to my thoughts and pay attention to my consciousness. And then as you're falling asleep, your mind is still practicing paying attention to what's happening. So as you're sleeping, your mind still does that. It's still looking, it's still observing. Another tip that I never used, but I heard that it helps, is during the day to pause and look at something. For example, look at a picture and then take your gaze away and look back, see if it's still there, and pay attention to that. Because in dreams, a lot of the times, the things that will appear, if you will look away and back, they won't be there anymore.
And that's how you know you're lucid dreaming.
Yes.
In a dream, that's how you can start to control your dreams.
So in a way, it's actually cool because it says the more you're aware of being awake, the more you will also be aware of being asleep.
Well, I do that often. I think often you've heard me say, is that real too?
It's true.
Like I saw a crazy artist thing outside of NGV and I immediately asked you and everyone else that was in the car near there, do you see that too? It was like a projection light thing and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm hallucinating right now. So we can all practice this.
You should. And it's cool because I find that lucid dreaming gives you an active into your dreams. You can decide what to do, what to say. I remember post-breakup meeting my ex or even his family members and having a chat and trying to understand what's happening. So it's really cool. It's also a great tool to communicate with people that have passed, that you can literally not speak to in this realm that we're in right now. And I suggest that, people give it a shot. I think it's cool. Now, we've been asked on the Insta to mention cusps. I want to say before even we go into cusps that we love when you guys message. We love when people ask questions, so keep them coming. And more than one person, actually quite a few people, asked us to talk about cusps. And they said that, they have an identity crisis and their boyfriend has an identity crisis and no one knows who they are.
My answer to them might be, okay, so you're a human. You're dating a human and you also are a human. So for those who are curious, what do we mean by cusp? So people... If you're star sign, so you might be born at the very end or the beginning of another star sign. So you're a bit Gemini and a bit Taurus. Would that be the next one? Or Cancer. So a bit Gemini, a bit Cancer. Or you're on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. So sometimes you hear a lot of people that, they're a Virgo, but they feel super, not like a Virgo at all. They're more Libran. So it's tricky. Like people that I've met that are cuspy or are cusps, like they don't really know who they are and also others don't know them. So I guess my advice to you guys is you might never fully be known by anyone for who you really are.
Yeah, but also there's also an optimistic take to that. But
no, I'm joking. Of course you'd be known and loved.
So I want to elaborate just a tad. Firstly, it's worth mentioning that when we talk about cusp, we mean the sun sign. So your Gemini is close to Taurus or your Gemini is close to Cancer, it's the sun. You still have the rest of your chart, you still have your moon, your rising, your Neptune, your Mercury, Mars.
Your North Node
and South Node, everything. But a lot of people in astrology world kind of like are divided between believing in cusps and not believing in cusps. My personal opinion, which is obviously the truth, is that cusps definitely exist. It's really funny to me that people treat energy as something so black and white, as if the 22nd of the month is 100% Scorpio, but the 23rd is 100% Sagittarius. It doesn't seem right. Also, it's funny because we also know, and I'm not going to go deep, but the months themselves are divided into decadents, which is beginning, middle, and end. And how people say, March Aries are fucking no, March Aries are fun, April Aries are fucking psychos and stuff like that. It's because every part of the month has different traits. And